hearing
for the town of Fairmount Heights. Today is June 20th, 2024. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Mayor Stewart,
Present.
Vice Chairman Barnhart, Councilmember St. John,
Present.
Councilmember Lethwich,
Present.
Councilmember Downing,
Excused.
Councilmember Oscar, Councilmember Wadowson.
Okay. We currently do not have a quorum. Members of the council are en route to the meeting. However, we're going to go ahead and start. We're not going to vote on anything until we have a quorum, but we're going to go ahead and start for the sake of time. I would. I don't know. Thank you, council, for being here on time. I appreciate that. And as soon as our treasurer, Ms. Walker, is ready, we're going to turn it over to her to go through the budget for 2025,
2025,
26.
not 26.
Oh, just 2025, my correction.
Ms. Waiters, can you give me a copy of the budget, please? Give me a copy of the budget.
Here, take this one.
Thank you.
And Barnhart won't be here.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, citizens, staff. I do apologize. I had the time wrong, so I am so sorry that I am slightly delayed. We meaning the mayor, the council, we have met several times to discuss the fiscal year 2025 budget. I want to thank the mayor and council. I know that this has been a long process. You all have done an amazing job going through this budget and getting it prepared for tonight's meeting. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to pull up my copy with my notes.
Do we have any other council members that join online? No. Thank you. I think the heat keeping people away. What y'all think?
Something is. This is really, okay. Okay. All righty. So, Mayor and Council, what I'd like to do is start at the top. We're going to start with, Ms. Russell, do you have the, can everybody online see?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Oh, what is going on here? All right, so we start at the top with our property taxes. As you know, we had our property tax meeting and we did not have to do a hearing. So the figure you see for the property tax is $605,814.30. That's based upon the property tax staying the same at 43 cents per $100 of assessed value. So the total for general revenue, which includes our property taxes, building permits, operating properties, which operating properties are basically the businesses that are in the town, and then their portion that they have to pay for their business property. So the property that they have filed on their Maryland Form 1, then they are assessed a tax to the town of Fairmount Heights for that property. And so that's our operating properties for that we project will be for fiscal year 25. And then our business licenses, our rental unit licenses, and our registrations for our vacant lots and our vacant dwellings. I will point out that for business licenses, we have had some, I'm so sorry. We have had some communication about business licenses for brick and mortar, so a person that actually has a standing business, and then non-brick and mortar businesses. That is something that we will have to continue to look at for fiscal year '25, because the non-brick and mortar businesses, we need to update the wording in our business license for that. Vacant lots and vacant dwellings, we are looking to, for fiscal year '25, we are looking to do more with identifying the vacant lots, the vacant dwellings, as well as our rental units. And so we have talked with Chief Moore, and he is, one of his new officers is very experienced with being code enforcement, so that's a wanted addition to our department, which will help us with our code enforcement. Because some of the conversations that we had was about possibly having an additional code enforcement officer, but at this time, God always has a blessing, so we didn't have to hire another person to help in that position. Our police officer will be able to help in that position. So our total for general revenue would be $687,126.63. Next, our intergovernment transfers. Let me just make sure my phone is turned off. I do apologize. So this includes our income taxes, our police aid, our state highway user fees, and those are amounts that we don't set ourselves. We get those amounts from those different agencies. And so those are our estimates for fiscal year '25. Definitely with state highway user and with police aid, those amounts could change. The agencies will let us know as we go through the year if there are any changes. And if there are, then I will alert you to those changes, and we'll make the adjustments that are necessary. Our next section, which is our other revenue, and it includes several things. I will point out some changes here for next year. You will notice that there's nothing budgeted under special events, nothing under parking lot rental. Special events is account 4400, parking lot and rental account 4406. Miscellaneous, that was placed in this year so that we could identify the money that we received back from the fraudulent activity, and so we wanted to just have that highlighted, so that account will go away because we try not to use miscellaneous as much as possible. And then also youth council next year, and then donations. And those items were taken out because over the past several years, income has not been received in those areas, and I discussed with the mayor and council that those areas are areas that I hope that we'll be able to place back in the budget, but the mayor and council will have to be very intentional about how we receive revenue from that. So, for example, our special events, in the past, we had our boot camp, we had different activities, exercise classes that brought in revenue for special events. Our youth council, that was started by one of our former mayors and our former council member, and that was really put in place to support our youth and to support our scholarship fund. But over the past several years, we haven't had activities to bring money in for that. And because during this year we didn't plan anything, we're trying to be very cognizant of what we place in the budget and what's very realistic. So it's not that we will not do anything. We're going to plan, and we are in the planning stages now. And so hopefully we'll be able to come back during the year and make adjustments in those areas. The parking lot rental, I will point out, we're removing that because we're no longer going to use the parking lot for outside purposes. It will be used for town vehicles and for town equipment, because as we grow our staff, we need space for our staff to park, we need space for our vehicles and space to store our equipment. So that's why parking lot rental will not be used next year. Our next section, our police department. Again, I want to thank Chief Moore. He has been very hands-on with this budget. He has really helped to set the tone for the police department and to give guidance and direction into the direction the police department is going. I will point out that you will see, under cameras, you will see stoplight. That is new fiscal year '25. That bill just got passed. It will go into effect July 1st. We were one of the first municipalities to be part of the pilot program, and that pilot program allowed us to test the equipment, to see how the equipment worked, to see if it's something that we thought would be beneficial to the town. And so I will say that it's not that the town wants to constantly have revenue coming in from violations of residents. But one of the things that we know, because of where we are located, people are cutting through our town and they're speeding. And we want to be safe. We want our residents to be safe, especially our youth to be safe. So the stoplight camera, when we had the pilot program, the chief was able to gather that data to see that we have people who are literally just running straight through the stop signs. They're not stopping, they're not even yielding. And we don't want that to continue. So again, a lot of the violations, a large percentage were not people that lived within the town. So we want people that come to our town to come to our town and be safe and to respect our laws and our rules. So that's what the stoplight camera would be. We have not made a decision as far as when that would go into effect. So the revenue that you see projected is for a small portion of the year. Once the camera is in place and we have it in place permanently, the revenue will be much higher. But again, this is a very conservative estimate for fiscal year 25, and Chief Moore did not, and I agree, we did not want to go much higher because the program, you all have to make a decision that you, one, are definitely going to go with the program, two, when it would start, and then we have that period of time where we have to have the contract reviewed by our attorney, have the period of time where there's warnings before the real tickets go into effect. So that's not going to happen on July 1st. So that's one reason the revenue is not projected for the whole year. So that would bring our total revenue for fiscal year 25 at $1,156,202.51.
Susan, can we pause for 1 second? Madam Clerk, please call the roll again.
Mayor Stewart,
Present.
Vice Chairman Barnhart, Councilmember St. John,
Present.
Councilmember Lethledge,
Present.
Councilmember Oscar,
Present.
Councilmember Woodotson, Councilmember Downing.
Excused. Okay, so officially, we do have a quorum. Thank you, Susan. You have the floor.
Thank you. All righty, and so now we'll go into our next section, which are our expenses, and we'll start with our general government. Our general government covers administration, and under administration, we also have other non-personnel expenses. So for instance, we have our expenses for our payroll company, our legal, IT support, dues and memberships, and that's not just for dues and memberships for admin, but mostly it would be dues and memberships for admin personnel. We also have under that our equipment lease for our copier, our insurance for workers' comp, liability, auto, and property. And then you'll see insurance again under the police department. So there's this separate, and I'll explain why there's this separate. Then also for our postage, our office supplies, I will point out account 5210 under retirement benefits. The only reason that is $2,000 for next year versus $6,000 is because for next year we only have one person that will be eligible for retirement next year. To be eligible for retirement, you have to be full-time and you have to have worked for 3 years, and then at that point you're eligible. So only one person is still eligible for retirement next year. In setting this budget, one of the things that we talked about, and I've had some extensive conversations with Mayor Stewart about it, and this is not exclusive to this council. Every year, one of the challenges that we face at Fairmount Heights is we have a lot that we have to get done, and our sources of income are limited. And so we talked about the things that are absolute that we have to do next year, and then the things that we want to do. So as I go through the budget, I'm going to try to point out areas of things that we have set goals to do, that you all have said that you want to get done, and where we have challenges for next year. So under administration, one of the things that you will not see under administration is a grant writer. Mayor Stewart had asked very early in the year if we could look and see how we would be able to secure a grant writer, someone that would be able to assist us with writing grants. Several municipalities have outsourced and are using grant writers to assist and to bring revenue in, because there's lots of money that we can take advantage of, and that's meant for government to use to operate. And so it's not dead in the water. I promised Mayor Stewart that we would continue to see how we would be able to secure a grant writer so that we can secure funding to support some of the things within the town that we need to do. We have stormwater management. We definitely have a lot of areas in town that we need to address, but that's very expensive. It takes a certain type of skill, a certain type of engineer. There are things that we need to have done, but we don't have the funding to do that. And so that's one of the areas that we're taking a look at. I'll also point out, as far as our website, we have been extremely blessed because one of our new council members, Ms. Kamisha St. John, she has taken the lead on the website. And so we were going to outsource the website for the maintenance of that, and we have not had to do that. And so that is definitely saving us some money on having to do that. However, I will point out that the mayor and council, which I'll go over this again when we get to their section, to their area, each council member has a committee or a work area. And so we've talked about this in the past, and I'm going to continue to talk about it, and I believe that this administration has grabbed hold of it. One of the things that we want to do is we want to encourage citizens to be a part of the committees. So one of the committees is definitely our communication committee. And Ms. Kamisha works full-time, as I'm sure many citizens, you work full-time. But if we can work together, we would be able to do a lot more than what we're able to do now. So that's one area that if you're interested, please consider, because with the website, it's almost a full-time job sometimes keeping it up. And so we've cut costs in that area, but we're still going to need to have that managed and to have that taken care of. So, Mayor and Council, I'm going to pause right here just for a second, because I just want to make sure that I also remind you that one of the things that we talked about, if you look under account 5100, which is our equipment lease, we definitely have to replace our copier. And that is something that we've talked about for next year. The estimate that you see in there is based upon the conversations that we've had thus far for the copier. I'm trying to get that down because it's $8,200, and I'd like to keep it towards the $7,000 that we had in the budget for that. But right now, this is based upon the quotes that we're getting from vendors now. But that is something that the cost, again, may not be for the whole year because we have not secured the copier yet, which means the lease would not start in July. So I just want to remind you of that. Our next section would be our election board, and there are no changes anticipated for next year for the election board. We did not have any elections this year, but if she probably has to just change the thing. Next page. Can you see it? You can? Election 5300? You can? Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Russell, sorry. Okay, and so no changes for that for next year. Again, this year we didn't have an election, but for next year, I don't recall if we have an election next year or not, I don't recall. But the election board does an amazing job working within the budget that's been set, and so I don't anticipate that we'll have any problems with that for next year. All right. So, this is our legislative section, which is our mayor and council. A lot of things to share here. So, as I had mentioned, each work area has, each council member has a work area. So, let me start with communications. Again, I had mentioned that Ms. Kamisha St. John is our liaison for our communications. And one of the things that we're looking to do next year would be to have our newsletter. And to have our news, I believe it will be quarterly. And that is something that, again, we're asking citizens to come out and to be a part of that, to help us to submit articles. We want to engage with the community. That's what we're here for. I'll point out that under our public works and communities, under public works, we have a lot that we're looking to expand upon for next year. So this year we've done some improvements to the front of the building. We're looking to do more improvements next year. But within the building, and this is again where we say the budget can be very tight, within the building we have identified areas that are crucial that we address now. So for one, in this area the ceiling tiles are pretty good, but if you go through other areas of the building, a lot of the ceiling tiles need to be replaced, and so that's a cost that I'll point out as we get to the building maintenance. the cost to replace the ceiling tiles in the admin area of the building, as well as almost all areas of the building need to be painted. It has not been painted in years, so our Public Works Department will be painting the building. These are areas that we've talked about and things that we need to get done. Definitely areas as well that we can reach out and we can see there are several businesses. One of the things I'm sorry I failed to mention with communications also is that we're looking to do a business directory. We have lots of businesses in town, and we always talk about supporting our businesses. We want to put in place a directory of all our businesses, the ones that we can see, the brick and mortar, but the non-brick and mortars, because there are services that everyone needs and everyone can take advantage of. Why not support our services right here in Fairmount Heights? So the business owners, please make sure that you reach out, give us your information. We'll put that directory together. On the website, we're also going to have a link so that you can give us information. We're looking to continue to improve our sidewalks and our roadways. I'll point that out as we get to that area. We used our highway user money for that, and we're going to continue to use our highway user. We had one citizen, when we were doing the roadways and the sidewalks, she contacted me and she said, Ms. Walker, I think there's some areas that you all may have missed. And I said, can you definitely give us those areas? We'll come and take a look at it, see if we can add them to the areas that we are doing right now. And so we did that, and we were able to improve and correct a sidewalk that was very hazardous that we had missed. So we want you to communicate and to send us information. So on the website, we'll have an area where you can send in maintenance repairs. So it could be that the street lights are out, it could be the sidewalks are damaged, the streets are damaged, it may be that there's a manhole that needs to be addressed. It may be that there are trees that are encroaching upon your property or that are causing you not to be able to see how to turn or something. We're going to have a site on the website, place on the website where you can submit that. So again, there are things that we recognize that we could do better with, and those are areas that we're trying to work on for next year. I will point out that you'll see under this section, you see wages for the council clerk, taxes, and state unemployment. That money has been moved to admin. One of the things that we had to make, and you'll see this on the police department, we had to make some decisions this year, and it wasn't the easiest thing to do. But again, Chief Moore was very gracious. He worked with us. We had to make some changes, and we had to make one change, and that was in the police department. And so we moved a position from the police department into the admin department. And it's not that the police department does not need administrative support, but the admin department, we definitely needed support in the admin department. And so we moved the police admin to the administration admin. And we already had a position in admin, but we hadn't funded it, we hadn't used it, and we didn't have enough money to fund both. And so to make sure we're being fiscally responsible, we're only going to fund one position. The council clerk has always been, it's a separate position. The way it is written, it says that the mayor shall appoint a staff person to serve as clerk to the council. So once somebody's on staff, then that person will be appointed to serve. And so Ms. Russell will be serving as the council clerk as well as the town administrator. So the money for that position has been moved under one department just so that it's easier for personnel and for payroll. But again, I'll point out when we get to the police department, I will point out the change that we made in the police department. But I just want to explain why this money has been moved from this department. MML, that is something that every year, that is a conference that every year we encourage the mayor and council to attend, as well as we encourage staff to attend. Unfortunately, for several years, we have not been able to have the full contingency of the council to attend, and we also have not been able to have the full contingency of department heads from staff to be able to attend. We're looking prayerfully for 2026 to see if there's additional funding that we can find that would support us being able to have training that maybe is outside of MML. Because MML, every year, the prices are going up, and it's quite expensive, and we just don't have the financial means right now to take full advantage of that conference. So this year we do have 8 people who are going, and next year We're hoping to have additional training throughout the year that we can take advantage of. I will point out that the council, I'm sure some of our citizens took advantage of the parliamentarian training that we had for the council. We recognize that there are areas that we can all improve on. And we recognize throughout the year, we hear the concerns of the citizens. We definitely hear your concerns when you're unable to hear during our meetings, when you're unable to participate. We hear those concerns. And we also hear the concerns that if a meeting is not being conducted according to the rules that it should be conducted. So that's one of the things that the mayor and council did, was they brought in someone to explain and to show exactly how to chair a meeting and how to run a meeting. And throughout the year, we will continue to have training that will allow the mayor and council to grow and allow the mayor and council to be in accordance with the guidelines, not just for Fairmount Heights, but guidelines for how do you run a government? How do you conduct a government? What do you do? And so that's training, and that training, because if we can get that training at a better cost, then we can not circumvent, but we can certainly possibly not spend as much money having to go to MML. And then MML, there is training through the Academy of Excellence that you can take right here locally, and we're going to take advantage of that training as well. I will point out that the mayor and council, a couple weeks ago, they had the first session to take a look at redoing the charter. So we're going to continue to do that. And again, that's an effort to make sure that our charter gets updated, but that we hear from the citizens, we hear from staff, we hear from everyone, so that the charter, which all of us are governed by, the charter can be redone, and it will be a document that everyone will be held accountable to follow. And we were blessed to have a person that did rewrite the charter for us, so we're not starting from ground zero. We have the original charter, we have a revised charter, and now we're going back and we're revising it again. So if you haven't participated, please come out and do that, because we are moving forward and we're trying to improve in the areas that we know we need to improve in. So that's what I want to say about legislative, but I'm going to pause here, because if there's anything from the mayor and council that you want to share from your individual work area, things that you've talked to me about that I may have forgotten, now would be a good time to share that.
Does anybody on the council have anything?
I'm just going to my notes. I think she covered for my specific area.
While she's looking, Councilman Oscar Leftwich?
No, I
Okay.
don't have anything.
Councilwoman Barnhart, did you have anything?
And one thing I will say while they're looking through their notes, every year we have a Memorial Day recognition at our Veterans Monument, and then we also have a recognition during Veterans Day. And Councilmember Oscar has taken the lead on that. One of the things that I had shared with him was the memorial that they do in Bowie. And so for Veterans Day, the monument prayerfully will look a little different, because we're going to try to do flags all the way around. We also recognize that we had a grant to update the monument, and we've used that grant. We've done all the updates we could do under phase 1. Now we're going into phase 2, so we're going to have to look for additional funding. But again, that's things that we're looking to do for fiscal year 25. If we don't have the money to do it, then we'll have to find another way to have as grand of a celebration, but maybe not to the level that we want to have. But certainly, if we cannot do it at the level that we want for 25, we're looking to do it for 26. But citizens, you may be able to help us to have the celebration at the level that we'd like to have it. So please come in and be a part, so that, because I did fail to mention that under community service, that's something that we want to do, is to be ready for our Veterans Day recognition. Alrighty, our next section, municipal. And so this really is for our building, our utilities, and then also our cable TV station, which we have Mr. Gray here with us tonight. And so our live stream on our cable TV station, we have that maintained monthly, and we also have our town meetings and our hearings on our TV station. So a couple things I want to point out here. Under building maintenance, there's a lot that we need to do in this building, and I shared that with you a few minutes ago. We're not going to be able to do it all for $7,000. So right now, we are prioritizing what has to get done. I give an example of things that take us over the budget sometime. We received a bond for $100,000. And $100,000 is to renovate the bathrooms and to put in an ADA compliant front door. While renovating the bathrooms, we have had several other problems that have come up in other parts of the building. But our latest is our main drain is cracked. And it's not just a small crack, it's a major crack. And so we're getting quotes now to have that main drain dug up, replaced, which part of the floor that we dug up is what we just put down because it's, the break is at the women's bathroom. That is going to possibly take us completely over our maintenance budget for fiscal year '25. And as I mentioned before, we have the ceiling tiles, we have painting, interior, we have exterior things that need to be done. When we were setting the budget, did we know about this pipe? We did. But we don't have a firm quote on what it will cost. One of the things we are looking, and we're reaching out to see if we can use any of the bond money, because it is for building repairs and renovations. So if we are blessed to be able to do that, then that will help us not to go over our $7,000. But unexpected major situations like that will cause us to go over the budget. We try as hard as we possibly can not to go over the budget. I will say that, again, this is not something that's only happened with this administration. It's happened in other administrations, and we're trying to be better stewards and to not exceed our budget. So you will notice some changes in the amounts that we have allocated for municipal, because again, we recognize this is an older building. We recognize that there are repairs that have to be done, but we're trying to prioritize what absolutely has to be done immediately and what we can look for funding to support repairs and to support upgrades. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say about municipal. All right, our police department. So, even though it's a small decrease in the police department, nonetheless, again, we had to make a major change, which was we did remove a position from our police department, which is our admin position. I do need to say one thing. In looking at personnel for next year, we've had several conversations, and Mayor Stewart has been gracious with me with my numbers. Right now, we have two categories for full-time. You're either 75 hours or you're 80 hours. And one of the recommendations I made to the mayor and council was to move everyone to 80 hours. And I say that because if you're 75 hours, you accrue leave at one rate. If you're 80, you accrue leave at another rate. It also makes it a little difficult when it comes to setting the salaries for the year, because if you do just a flat 3% or you do a flat amount, the percentage doesn't come out quite the same for each person if they're at a 75 or if they're at 80. So the salary changes in admin are based upon if you move to the 80 hours. But in the police department, everyone is already at 80 hours. Police department, we have hired 2 new officers. So Chief Moore is aware that for right now, his department, they're at full capacity for right now. Unless we get some additional funding, we will not be hiring any additional officers for fiscal year '25. So we will have the chief, and we will have 3 officers. We will also have our code enforcement officer, but we will not have an admin person in the police department. Admin for the police department will receive assistance from the personnel in our admin department. I do want to point out a couple things in the police department. You will notice that under vehicle purchase, which is 6060, I have nothing allocated for fiscal year '25. It's not that there will be no vehicles purchased, there will not be any vehicles purchased, but we will use our ARPA funds. The police department they were awarded ARPA funds, and so we will use those funds to support the purchase of the vehicles. Also, our field supplies, any field supplies that we have not already purchased, the chief has identified and will continue to do an inventory of what he has, and we will look to use our ARPA funds to purchase any field supplies that they need. Our weapons, same thing. We will look to use our ARPA funds to support any purchases that they may need. In hiring police officers, one of the conversations that we have over and over again with the council and with the chief is that it cannot be a one-to-one. If you have 4 officers, you cannot have 4 cars. You need to have an additional car. You cannot have four radios. You have to have an additional radio, or 2 or 3. Same thing for our weapons. This is one of the challenges with having a police department, is that you have to make sure that you're able to properly equip that police department, and you're able to manage the nuances of having a police department. So if there's one department that I probably spend the most time talking to, it probably is our public safety department. Again, our citizens, we have a public safety liaison, and we would like you to be involved. We would like you to be a part. If you see something, we want you to say something, but we also want you to come out and be involved. So if this is an area that's near and dear to your heart, please consider being part of this committee, because we want our officers to be out in the community. We want to see what's happening. We want to know what's happening so we can come out and be a part of it. There are a couple things that we already have planned under public safety. We already have our coat drive planned. I don't have the exact date, but Chief Moore can give you that. We've begun to collect our Toys for Tots, and so we're going to do our toy drive again. This is not under public safety, but our former council member and our former mayor, Ms. Waiters, we're doing our bike rodeo, and this is something that she started when she was here. And in talking to the chief, he's very excited about it. It's something that I know we're going to do every year, and it's going to grow. So we want to make bicycle safety, and we want to make being active part of what we push and what we encourage here at Fairmount Heights. So come out and be a part of it. Come out and support. We still need bicycles. We still need helmets, because we can't fund everything, but you can certainly help us to be a part of that. National Night Out is coming up in August. Please come out and be a part of National Night Out. The police department, they're working hard already. We've been preparing. We've been getting equipment to be ready for that, and so we want you to come out and be a part of that. The police department, even though we won't be able to grow it, we want to make sure that we are hearing and we're seeing what you're saying. So if you see something, we want to come out and see what's happening. If you have a concern, we want to hear that concern. So though we have capped it, it doesn't mean that we're not going to grow in other areas. And we do have support from Prince George's County. We have support from other municipalities, so that as we may be stagnant in staff, we're not going to be stagnant in the services that we can provide. And we will do as best we can to try to stay within our budget for every department, and definitely within our public safety budget, because we know that this is an area that, because there's such a need, sometimes things can go over the budget. But we're going to work as hard as we can to stay within, and so we're going to need we'll need to have a lot of meetings to be able to do that. I will point out that you, again, under the fees, the stoplight fee, all of these fees are based upon 3%, because each of the vendors, the fees that you pay is 3%. And so it's based upon a 3% fee, but it's based upon an estimate of the revenue that we would take in. A couple questions that we have for all the vendors, and Chief Moore and I will continue to talk to the vendors. One, we always ask about your collections. You know, what do they do? Because we're not doing collections. They're responsible for collections. How do you collect when people are not paying their fines? And then what percentage of that, what's your collection rate, and how does that impact our revenue? We also always ask about the equipment being upgraded, and we will not be locked into a contract for more than 3 years, because we know technology is constantly changing, we do not want the town to be subjected to anything long-term that we're not able to upgrade. So any cameras, anything that we put in place for enforcement, we will make sure that we're not locked in as much as possible for more than 3 years. I did fail to mention, when we were back at the municipal side, I did fail to mention that couple things that we have done. We used our highway use. I mentioned that we upgraded our roads and we upgraded our sidewalks. We also cleared several alleys. And this again goes back to not this fiscal year, but the prior fiscal year. When we did part of this work, one of the things that we talked about was having to put down milling. And the milling is so important because once we cleared those alleys, we needed to put down a hard surface. And let me just say this, because I know that some people are going to they're not going to appreciate me calling them alleys. So if you want to call them alleys, if you want to call them paper alleys, if you want to call them walkways, whatever you want to identify them as, you know the areas that I'm talking about. I believe there are 6 areas that we have. I had my notes, but I don't have them with me now. There are 6 areas that we have identified that we consider to be alleys. We have one that we have a grant for, and we partner with the CDC. And if you haven't seen that area, please make sure you go and see the Market Circle area to see the improvements that's been done there. But the alleys that we clear that are behind your homes, we don't want there to be a safety issue. But once we've used town funds, thank you so much. Once we've used town funds, even though those funds may have been our highway user funds, we want to make sure that we keep those alleys clear. So we have from Hunt Place to 57th Place, from Eastern Avenue to L Street, Eastern Avenue to 60th Avenue, Eastern Avenue to Addison Road, and then Addison Road to 59th Avenue. Those are 5 areas. Those are 5 alleys, thank you, Mayor, that our public works, that they have to maintain. And so in order to help them to maintain those areas, because if we let them get overgrown, then that's going to cost us more money. So we're going to put down milling, but we also need to put some type of lighting so that you're safe. We also understand that there is one area, I believe it's on Aspen, that we're looking at right now. That's that area, it's an alley, it's extremely overgrown. And that one's going to be a lot for us to have it cleared. We are looking at it. We know that it's a problem. It has a lot of standing water. But the same thing, once we clear it, we have to put down the hard surface. So, Mayor and Council, I do appreciate that you all have had some conversations. I know you haven't made a final decision, but I do appreciate the conversations you've had and that we're moving in the direction towards putting down the milling so that those walkways, those alleys, those paths can be maintained, and we can, it can be one and done. And so we also are looking at putting large flower pots or large pillars to prevent people from using the alleys to drive through. But we need to be able to have our public works be able to get into the area if necessary. We also recognize that there are some residents who you have your fences in the alley. I'm not going to address that because I know that there's been different conversations about that. We will deal with that as it comes up. But just know that that's also an area that Public Works is responsible for. So I'll wait until I get to Public Works for this next part. So that's our police department.
Before we go any further, we have how many questions online?
3 questions.
Okay.
Okay. I'll make sure I get to those. And then Public Works.
So you want,
Oh, you mean to do the questions now?
you want to, what, because they might have been related to something you just said.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
they were earlier. The first question is from Ms. Kim Gladden. Good evening, Mrs. Walker. Can you please touch on the stipends? There seems to be a variance and an increase over fiscal year '24. Thank you. Account 5534.
Okay. Okay, so the stipends haven't changed. They are still $350 for each council member and $600 for the mayor. The difference is because in the prior year, everyone didn't serve the same amount of time. So we had a mayor going out, we had a mayor coming in, we had council members that served part of the year and didn't serve the rest of the year. So that's the difference that we have for the stipends. But for the council members, it would be 350 times 6 times 12, which would be 25,200. And for the mayor, it would be 600 times 12, which would be 7,200. So the 7,200 plus the 25,200 would give you the 32,400. I can certainly give a breakdown for the amount that we budgeted in 2024 versus the amount in 2025. But again, 2024 was based upon the fact that some council members were not in office for the whole year, and so that's the difference.
Question 2 from Kim Gladden, is the pipe repair not covered by insurance?
The pipe repair is not covered completely by insurance because it is not considered an act of God, but it's no, it's not covered. We've checked with the insurance, and it's not covered 100% by insurance. And this is, we also had this happen, not the exact same thing, we had it happen a few years ago, and it's not covered by the insurance.
Kim Gladden, question 3. Account 6070 was documented at previous budget meeting as 600 versus 900 for fiscal year 24. Can you elaborate on the $300 variance update on this document?
6090?
6070.
Oh, it's National Night Out. Yes. Okay. So National Night Out, as you can see, the budget for fiscal year 24 was $900. For fiscal year, fiscal year 24 we budgeted. We spent $1,700. In meeting with the chief, we talked about, what are you going to be able to do? Are you going to be able to stay within the 900, or what are your plans? And his plans would take him over the 900. So the budget is set at $1,800 for fiscal year 25 based upon what he knows what he anticipates he will be spending for National Night Out. And so again, we're trying to be, in setting this budget, we're trying to make sure that we're being honest about what the expenses really are. In previous years, and everyone will tell you, I can be very, I won't say cheap, I can be very frugal, and I can be very hard at times. And sometimes I'll push staff a little hard to stay with a lower amount when in reality we know that it's going to take more. So for National Night Out, I did have to yield to the fact that Chief was very honest with what he anticipates spending for National Night Out. He did enter into the year anticipating applying for a grant. We unfortunately missed the opportunity to apply for that grant. We'll do everything we can not to miss it for next year. But that is why that is set there. Again, we're trying to be more realistic and set the figures at what we know they will be, but also hold ourselves to stay within that budget. And that's one of the areas that I did have to bend. And like I said, I will admit, staff will tell you, when we're setting the budget, a lot of times I can be kind of harsh and try to push towards the lower number, even though I know we may need to put more money in the budget. So in increasing it in some areas, there were some areas that I bent with. There's some areas that I did not bend, because I've been here when we have not had the funds to do some of the things that we're able to do now. And we want to continue to be good stewards of what we have, because just like the basement, things are going to happen. This is a very old building. Things are going to happen.
She said she didn't touch on the $600 that was listed on a prior budget document for fiscal year 24 for now, but I will contact her separately tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, tell Ms. Gladden I said thank you. Ms. Ladden, thank you so much. You know you can always contact me at any time, so thank you so much. Okay. All right, so, Public Works. Again, I will point out that under wages, this is based on if you agree to move Public Works to 80 hours. That's what the salaries would be. One of the justifications for moving Public Works, because of the amount of work that needs to be done, and Mr. Cradle and I talked about all staff may not need to work 8 hours, but you can't have some staff working 8 hours and some staff working a 7.5-hour day. But one of the things that we are seeing is that to get everything done that we need to get done, we need staff to be on site for more than 7.5 hours. You think a half an hour wouldn't make a difference. When you put that half an hour over every day, it does make a difference. And one of the things that we've talked about, and Ms. Sarumi, obviously she's over that department with Mr. Cradle. He comes to me for the funding piece. One of the things that we've talked about is needing to divide staff and have staff be able to be outside and inside, because there are things that we need to address in town. There are things we need to address in the building. So our ARPA money, we are purchasing another lawnmower, which we desperately need, because all the areas that we have to maintain, and that's something I had asked Mr. Cradle to share with me, and he wasn't able to get everything to me, is all of the areas that we maintain right now in town. The areas that we are supposed to maintain and the areas that we're not supposed to maintain. There are some areas that we cut that we're not responsible for, but we can't leave them looking shabby, because if we do, then you have rodents, you have all kinds of nefarious activity happening, so we still maintain those areas. Within the building, this is a pretty large building, and we need some more support to keep this building up. So what you see under wages is based upon, again, if you decide that you're going to change, and these changes, I will point out, these changes can't just happen because we say they're going to happen, because it would require us making a change to the personnel policy. So the money is put there in the event that the change does happen. I can tell you that it wouldn't be the whole amount, because it wouldn't happen on July 1. The change would happen after July 1. I will point out that tickets and violations account 7045. We're budgeting for it at $200, but that's paid 100% by the employees, and that's for every department. If you receive a moving violation or any kind of violation in the town vehicle, you are responsible for that violation 100%. Staff receives 72 hours to pay the violation. If it's not paid in 72 hours, it is deducted from their paycheck. And if you receive, and this is a change that we're putting in the personnel policy, if you get 2 moving violations, then you are not able to drive for a period of time. And we also have had our Public Works Department, I'm not sure if our Police Department did, but I know Public Works, they went to a defensive driving training through Legit, and if the Police Department hasn't done it, we're going to encourage them to do it as well. Under street cleaning, repairs, and signage, we used our highway user funds for some of, just count 7061, I'm sorry, 7061. We used our highway user funds, and we're going to continue to use our highway user funds, again, for some of the repairs that we have, and then some of the signs that we need to replace throughout the town. It will not be highway user funds, though, for any of the electronic stop signs. Again, that would be, we have to pay for that through the contract with that vendor. Under 7080, under equipment, you see $15,843.90 that was spent. $12,000 of that we used it from our ARPA funds. So I leave it there so that we're clear that we have purchased the equipment, but that equipment was purchased through ARPA funds. So for the final budget, the $12,000 will be moved to the ARPA account, just so that it's very clear where that money came from. We do have 3 vehicles for the for the Public Works Department that we have loans on. One loan will be paid off next year, and I believe that's the loan for the dump truck. So it's paid off in 2025. Then next will be our trash truck, then our pickup truck. For Public Works, the only piece of equipment that we really could benefit from would be an additional truck that we could use for bulk trash. When we pick up bulk trash, when we purchased this trash truck, it was agreed that we would not use the trash truck for large bulk trash, just because of the wear and tear that it puts on the mechanism of the truck, that, you know, the piece that pushes the trash under. That is something that we need to talk about. I know we've had some small conversations about it. There's nothing in the budget for that for next year. There's no plans for it. But again, part of what we're looking at is that in order for us to be a better government, we have to do more than budget for 1 year. We have to budget for 2 to 3 years out. So this is something that we're going to talk about, but there are no concrete plans right now for that piece of equipment. But we do need that for next year. We do need that as soon as possible. Okay, so I think that's it. I've tried to do a quick summary. I know that for a lot of citizens, you've seen this same budget over and over. I will point out that in a recent meeting, there were some questions asked about the information that's in the budget, and so I want you to know that I take every suggestion and every question and every suggestion. I take it to heart and I take it seriously, and I don't just blow things off. I will be presenting a revised budget format for transparency, because there have been some questions about why some departments have more information than others, and in particular in personnel. One of the things I will say is, under the police department, the reason that there is more detail under the police department is because we receive police aid. And under police aid, you cannot include non-sworn officers. So you cannot include your code enforcement officer under your police aid report. So that's why it's separate, because when we submit our information at the end of the year, we have to submit the entire budget. And so they want to see everything, and then they reconcile to see if what you said you spent is what you spent, and did you spend any of it on non-sworn officers. And we have to give a list of who the sworn officers are, and so that's why that is more detailed. However, I do hear the concern, and so Mayor and Council, I will be presenting a revised recommendation, a revised budget, just a revised format. This format was in place when I got here in 2008. I saw no reason to make any changes to it because it's what the town of Fairmount Heights had been using. However, again, I do hear the concern, and so I will bring forth a recommendation for just a revised budget with additional information, so that we're being transparent, and so that we are also addressing the concerns that have been brought to us. And Mayor, that's it for me. I will say that we do have to read the ordinance into record.
Right.
And so, Ms. Russell, did you want to read the ordinance into record when it's time, or did you want me to do it?
We have a couple of questions.
Okay, that's fine.
Ms. Waiters has one.
I didn't see vehicles on some questions. I didn't see any vehicles. I mean, is the insurance separate, or is it for all vehicles, one, or? That's
Yes.
my question.
So the question was vehicle insurance, and vehicle insurance covers all of our vehicles. Yes.
Okay.
From Kim Gladden online.
Mhm.
Uniforms have a 3 times overage. Can you please elaborate?
Which one are we in, the police department or in the public works?
I believe she's talking about public works.
Public works.
7090.
Okay, yes. So for Public Works, this year, so for fiscal year '24, when we started fiscal year '24, we did not have the staff that we have in Public Works now. So we were using contractors in the beginning of fiscal year '24. However, once we hired we hired 3 new staff members in Public Works. We needed to get them complete uniforms. They had to have their winter uniforms, and they had to also have their summer uniforms. So their winter uniforms include their coats, their jackets, their hats, their winter pants, their winter coveralls. All those things are a little bit more expensive. And then also their summer uniforms. So as of right now, I think we have most of what we need. We do have to, Public Works is one area that we do probably replace uniforms a little bit more often than than in the police department, only because of the nature of what they do. At some point, the uniforms are very tattered and dirty, and we do have to replace them.
Are there any other questions for the treasurer from the council? Anybody on the council have any questions? I just would like to know the bond award, you have it under 4249 and 7249?
Yes, so when you receive funding, so for instance, our ARPA funding, if you look previous years, we'll have the income and then we have the expense, because you have to show them separately.
Okay. Okay, I understand. All right.
Okay.
Councilman Oscar, you have the floor.
For the variance, actually the income loss.
So the variance is just the variance between what you budgeted and what you actually spent. So it's not an actual loss, it's based upon what you budgeted versus what you spent and what you took in. So for instance, when you look at it, we budgeted for expenses $1,093,769. We spent thus far $837,000. We budgeted for revenue the $1,129,000. We've spent the $947,000. So the difference in those two, that's what you see as far as the variance. So it's not actually a negative. It's just the difference between the budget. And again, the budget for all municipalities, for all government, it's hard. Yes, that's a good word. You're forecasting what you're going to spend. And I don't want to say this on TV and make myself.
It rains and thunderstorms sometimes.
It does. But I want to make myself seem like I'm a tyrant. But I do try very hard. And sometimes I probably press a little bit too hard to keep us under budget. But we need to do a better job of really being honest about what it takes to run the government. That's where we need to spend some more time really looking at that, because it's not fair to you all as council members, but it's not fair to you all as taxpayers, because you really need to see what it costs to be a government. Because we have safety, we have maintenance, we have a lot, and it costs a lot to be a government. And that's not making excuses. Again, I'm being transparent about where we are strong and where we are not strong, and being more honest about what it takes to run a government. And this goes across every administration I've worked with. This has been a challenge. So.
All right, so, okay.
Yeah,
Councilwoman
I did.
St. John?
Thank you. So I just wanted to clarify, so line item 5520 for community service. This money where we had the variance and overages, that's due to all the community events that we had. And if I understand correctly, we couldn't pull it from the 4,400 because those events are only events that should bring in revenue.
Which 4,400 we looking at now?
So first I'm starting with legislative, looking at, line
Okay,
item
yes.
5520.
So 5520, and this is one of the questions that Councilmember Wood Dotson asked.
Right.
And this, and I had bought the detail for this. This line item is not just the event that Ms. Wood Dotson, I forgot what the name of the event was that she sponsored.
Right.
From this line item, you all have also pulled the book bags have come from this.
Right, everything we did.
Everything has come
Yeah.
from this, but what we do need to do is we do need to spend some time talking about, and this is why that calendar that you all have begun to develop is going to be so important. We need to talk about the events that will come strictly from this versus if you go down to the bottom of the budget, if you go all the way down to account 7330, that's another account that's for citizen events.
330.
All the way at the bottom, it's the very last.
7, okay, gotcha, that's
And
what I was looking for.
that is
Okay.
where we used to pull the bulk of our community events from. When we did Fairmount Heights Day, if we did, which I know we haven't always had Black History Month programs, our Women's History Month, most of those came from 7330. So again, the item up top, which would be the committee that Ms. Wood Dotson is the liaison for. Other things have come out of that because there are other events that you all are sponsoring as a council. So in fairness to the liaison for that committee, what we probably should take a look at is the things that we would pull from the other line item.
Right, okay.
Or
Okay.
from their line item, right?
Who was there? What do you mean?
Like, for example, if St. John is doing something related to communication,
Yes.
she can pull from her communication.
But like
But
the
if
book,
I'm
but,
doing
but,
something
but for the book bag,
That should have probably come from
we
special
probably could
event.
have taken that, no, well, see, special
Citizens
events is,
events.
yeah, citizens events. Special events, that's an area which, again, it's income, and I really am hoping that we will look at, because it's not just to raise the money, but it's to have something for,
To get that.
the community. So if we have activities that generate revenue, we then can put that money back into, because you've made mention that you would like to have a reading program, where we need to be able to buy the books, or we can hopefully get some books from Reading is Fundamental. One of our former council members did I don't know, I think I call them little libraries, the portable libraries that you build in front of you put them in front of your residence. And so prayerfully, she will have the opportunity, because she said she wanted to come back and do one. We have the opportunity to do another one of those in town and put it in another place. But if we have money that we have raised from special events, then we can help to support that by buying the wood and the paint and what it takes for her to be able to build that, or for her to help our youth be able to build that. Because showing our youth how to build that little library would be something we can give back to the youth. So that's an income area. So
Right.
even though it's not budgeted, it is my hopes that when you all have your meeting and you start planning fiscal year '25, that we will have some of these events that we've talked about to be able to then give that money back into the community.
Gotcha, thank you. Nope, that's exactly what I thought. I just totally
Okay.
missed 7330, and I was trying to figure out, wait a minute, what did we talk about? But that was I got
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
so do we have any other questions for the treasurer, Ms. Walker? All right, so we can go to reading the ordinance at this point,
Yep.
right?
And then you'll take a motion to.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so who's gonna read it for us? Is it? Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Did we get a copy? Oh, it's okay. I got it in my email. I'll pull it up.
Budget fiscal year '25, an ordinance to appropriate the town of Fairmount Heights budget for fiscal year '25, July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Whereas the mayor has presented the town council the annual budget for fiscal year 2025, July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Whereas the town council has discussed the budget with the administration and has made further recommendations, be it ordained by the mayor and council of the town of Fairmount Heights sitting in hearing on the 20th day of June 2024, the property tax assessment as per Prince George's County property tax assessment per owner shall be .43 cents per $100 of assessed property for land and improvements. The budget and all other detailed narratives presented by the mayor and council shall be considered a part of this ordinance. Summary of approved fiscal year 25, July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Revenue, general revenue, $687,126.63. Intergovernmental transfers, $280,262.88. Other revenues, $59,113.00. Police department, $129,700.00. Total revenue, $1,156,202.51. Expenditures, administration, $237,403.00. Election, $2,850.00. Legislative department, $58,850.00. Other expense, $15,500.00. Municipal, $41,864.00. Public safety, $341,920.00. Public works, $435,309.92. Community, $6,000. Total expenditures, $1,124,000, $1,124,196.92. Net income, $32,005.59. This ordinance shall become effective on the date specified by the ordinance. This budget shall take effect on July 1st, 2024.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. Okay.
I do need to make a correction, and we can cross it out. You have, I left in there under other expense, 15, what did I say, 15,000?
$15,500.
Yes, that needs to come out, because that's not factored into the amount, that was from the previous template. So that amount just needs to be crossed out. The total, the figures are right, but that needs to come out. I can reprint it before you sign it.
Yes, please reprint it before we sign.
Okay.
Make the change and we can
I
sign the
will.
correct.
I will make that change.
Can you share that, ordinance? What we just read? Is that possible?
Will you be able to print it tonight or?
Yes, I am looking for it now. Mhm.
Okay.
We will share, I can send this to you right now. If I send it to you now, can you share it? Okay, so give me 1 second. I will send this ordinance to Ms. Russell right now. I'm taking out the,
Did you make other changes to it?
nope.
The format? Yeah.
You changed the format?
Well, she put it in the ordinance format that we're using now.
That was the ordinance format.
No.
Okay, so for the budget, you can't just make
Oh,
changes
the
like
budget,
that.
she said you can't change.
Okay,
Let
so
see
let me,
what you
okay,
had.
so, okay, so that's okay. We'll talk about that. Let me send this to you now.
It's no different, it's just she didn't change anything, she just put it in the format like that.
Okay.
So the only thing that should be added is the first reading on there.
Okay.
Second
So I'm gonna send this to you, and then you can do what you need to do. Okay.
Is that okay? Is that satisfactory?
That's fine, I'm gonna send this to you right now, okay? So give me 1 second. Citizens, give me 1 second, I'm gonna send this to Ms. Russell so that she can share it.
All right. So when we do the motion to set the budget, do we have to say the dollar amount, or we just
You just
approve?
said, you're just accepting a motion to
I saw
approve
it.
the fiscal year 25 budget
Okay.
as presented. Give me 1 second, Ms. Russell.
Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oscar, you gonna do the motion? I'm joking.
Anyone can do it.
You actually do a lot of motions for us, and Councilwoman St. John, so we appreciate it. So I would like to go ahead and say thank you very much, Madam Treasurer, for putting together this budget for us and working these numbers out. I would like to also thank the council for their input, and I'll accept that motion to approve the 25, what is it, fiscal year
Fiscal year
25 budget.
Okay, I move that we approve that we get approved the 2025 fiscal year budget as presented. I did that backwards, but.
You did great. That's perfect. Can I get a second?
Second.
It was second by Leftwich. Madam Clerk, take the roll. Take the vote.
Mayor Stewart,
I'm going to be last on all votes going forward, okay? So,
Councilwoman Downing,
she's not present.
Councilmember Wadawson, Councilmember Oscar,
Aye.
Councilmember Leftwich,
Aye.
Councilmember St. John,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Barnhart,
I don't see her anymore.
and Mayor Stewart.
Aye. So the ayes have it. The budget has been approved. Yeah, thank you. Sound like it took us a long time to get here. All right.
It is. It's a
If
lot-
there are
it's a
no
lot
other
of work.
questions, no other comments, no other concerns, I will accept the motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move that this meeting be adjourned.
Okay. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, Oscar.
Thank you for your